Howdy, I sincerely hope that whoever, wherever, and whenever you may be, that you're doing well. Today I wanted to start off the video with a question. Do you ever feel completely overburdened or like your circumstances are just dragging you down and always getting the best of you? Do you ever feel like if you could only just let go of things or not have these responsibilities or not have all these ties, that then you'd be able to do what you want? Maybe at some times, have you ever felt like this tree here that's just completely restricted by all those vines that are trying to almost pull it down and suffocate it? Well, if so, this video is for you. I wanted to talk about the idea of the limitations that we put on ourselves that actually seem like they're from external things, but in reality, it's always from ourselves. Whenever you feel weighed down by your situation and you know deep down that you want out of your situation, you want out of certain responsibilities or habits, you know you want out of these things, but maybe it feels like you can't because you have a responsibility or you have some sort of obligation to do that thing or to remain in that situation. And it can feel like it's an obligation to others, and like we would potentially be letting others down if we didn't or did do certain things, or sometimes we could even feel like we'd be letting ourselves down in leaving behind some of these things. I feel like we go through this life and we pick up a lot of things from other people, and they may have started from other people, but it's us who picked it up and us who continue to carry it. And the reason why this life feels heavy is often you're carrying a lot of things that aren't yours. They were burdens or responsibilities from other people that were placed onto you or that you placed onto yourself that maybe you don't need to hold on to anymore. Oftentimes the things that make us feel so attached to circumstances, whatever the circumstance may be, it's the guilt that we'd feel or the shame that we'd feel if we were to let go of those things, and the feeling that potentially we're a failure of some sort if we were to let go of those things, those responsibilities or obligations. But in reality, in a lot of ways, I feel that we're letting ourselves down by continuing to do something that is not in alignment with our soul, because we want to live, our soul wants us to live as the highest expression of ourselves. And in doing so, the highest expression of ourselves is literally the highest version of ourselves in all ways, including capability and how much you can help others and how much positivity you can bring to the world and to those around you. And when you're sacrificing yourself, when you're, putting the cart before the horse and not pouring into yourself first and just focusing on fulfilling the needs of others without paying yourself any mind, really it burns you out completely, and it causes you to be a version of yourself that's not fully in alignment, and really it's not the version of yourself that, for one, you deserve, but it's not the version that others deserve either. And it's not the example that others deserve. It's really like a matter of, especially in regards to healing, but just in general, putting on your own oxygen mask before you try to save others, because really you can't do much for others that's actually beneficial to them until you've, completely done what you've needed for yourself. And a lot of the times what we need is, if not at least a break from these obligations and circumstances that have been, placed on us and that we've held on to, it might mean completely letting go of certain things. And in letting go of these things, it might completely change your life in a lot of ways. It might be painful at first, but it will free you completely. One of the images that popped into my mind, especially when I was just looking at this tree for a minute before I started this video, was I got the picture of Atlas holding the world on his shoulders and just bearing that ultimate burden. And I think that really is how so many people feel right now. They feel completely overwhelmed by life in general, by all of the constructs and just the things that they feel that they're bound to. And really, the only thing that binds us to those things is our own guilt, our own shame, and our own fear as to what would happen if we let go of those things. But I really encourage you to just spend some time thinking, spend some time meditating about if you really need to be holding on to those things anymore, or if it's simply unnecessary weight that you're carrying that's holding you back, and that's potentially either serving the selfish needs of others or just completely sacrificing yourself in a way that's unhealthy. Because really, the reason why we're here in this life is to not only learn, but to just explore and do what we want, despite the circumstances. And we get trapped in these mental prisons sometimes where it feels like there's no escape. But even though at times it feels like the scariest thing that you could do, oftentimes when there's that level of fear surrounding it, it means that there's a stronger potential for some kind of a breakthrough for you. I know for me, I've had to let go of a lot of things in my life, letting go of people, whole support groups, letting go of family, letting go of physical belongings, letting go of, the place that I grew up, or just being used to a home in general. There's all sorts of things that I've had to let go of that really, in holding on to those things, they caused me so much more suffering than what was worth the comfort that they ever provided. This is really a lot of what the Buddha talked about, and just, what's talked about in Buddhism in general, is this idea of letting go of attachments, and that being the ultimate source of freedom in a lot of ways. It's because attachments, fundamentally, they're associated with lack. They're associated with a fear of losing that thing. Whereas I think what should be done, what should be worked towards, is letting go of attachment and moving into appreciation. Appreciation for what you have, what you've experienced, and the way things are now. But in that appreciation, understanding that it will change. Understanding that nothing is permanent except for our own souls, really. And the more that we can accept this, the more that we can let go of being attached to things in a way where we feel completely emotionally dependent on them, and where we feel like if we would lose that thing, it would destroy us in some way or another. The more things like that you can let go of, the more you will feel like there's nothing that could actually destroy or break you. And you'll realize as you start to do this that, everything, all of the suffering, it's all been in the mind. You may have been in very difficult physical situations, but even in those situations, it's always the association that we have with it in our minds that causes so much suffering. And this is also an attachment to things like what happened to us in the past, and holding on to resentment of certain things, or being in some form of victim mindset. Because really, if you feel like you're the victim in a situation, if you feel like everything's happened to you and that it's unfair, as opposed to recognizing the learning experiences in those things and the growth that's to be had in those things, and how much you potentially can help other people going through those things, having gone through them yourself. If you choose not to think about those second things that I mentioned, and you focus on simply the resentment and the pain of what happened and wishing that it didn't happen, the only thing that you're doing is making yourself a victim. And not in the sense of, you're just saying that you're a victim, but like literally you are putting yourself in the position of being a victim and in suffering, really. And, there's nothing wrong with feeling these feelings of resentment and working through them from past experiences and things that we may just never have dealt with properly. But if they're held on to forever, it really doesn't do anything of benefit to us. It kind of just sticks with us like a poison in the body almost. And those resentments, those attachments to the ways that we suffered in the past and attaching an identity to that suffering, those are also attachments that when they're let go of, it's just completely freeing, and you can realize that everything has happened for a reason, and it's so that you can get to where you are now. And where you are now it's an ongoing growth process that never really stops. And it can also be attachments to things that aren't quite as deep set in the mind or the soul. Like, for example, not too long ago, I sold most of my belongings, at least that I couldn't fit into my car without just completely packing my car full. I sold most of my larger items and just got rid of a lot of stuff. And with each thing that I got rid of, I felt so much lighter, because it wasn't just the thing that I was letting go of, it was the anxiety tied to the potential fear of losing that thing, whether something breaks or something gets stolen or whatever it may be, something gets lost. The more you can let go of those things, those attachments, there's literally less potential for fear. And once you reach a point of complete detachment, you'll realize there is no fear at all. You reach a point where all you need is yourself, because you know that that's all there really is. And that it's better to dance with life, to go with the flow of life, and to, observe Maya, but to not get so ingrained in it, not get so identified with it, and feel like we can't be happy without certain things. Because really, if we feel like we can't be happy without certain things outside of us, all that does is places a modifier of unhappiness on ourselves. It places something on us that makes the present moment not what we need or want, and it puts our desires in some future circumstance or some changed circumstance. But really, all that does is it just puts off your own appreciation and joy of the moment, because we always have the ability to just be in the moment and to appreciate it and to not worry. And it can take practice if you're not used to it, but it's one of the most important things that you can practice ever, really. And meditation is a great way to do this, or literally just journaling or thinking about your attachments to things and analyzing and determining why you really feel attached to those things, why you feel afraid of losing them, and recognizing that you will be completely fine regardless of those things happening or not, and that even if you don't choose to let go of certain circumstances or belongings or people or whatever it may be, if you can let go of the attachment to them, that is where you'll find freedom and peace. Because this life, I've said it in many videos, this life is effectively a game or a movie. It's not truly serious. The only thing that is serious are these temporary modifiers that we've put on ourselves that make us feel like we're trapped, and that make us feel like it's the end of the world, or like we're a failure, or it's just going to cause us more suffering if we don't live up to certain things or keep carrying or lugging around certain obligations that we've carried around for so long. The more that you can drop what other people have placed on you and just continue to carry what's yours, I mean, the lighter you'll be and the easier you'll be able to just flow through this life, because you won't be stuck in the mud, if it were. So I encourage you to just think about what your attachments are, what you feel afraid of losing, and why you feel that way, why you think you'd feel fear upon something happening or losing something or something changing. And in thinking about that, see if you can recognize that you don't really have to be afraid. I want to try getting an affirmation card just to see if Source or anything has a message that fits best with this video and for the collective watching. To trust a self that is rooted in ego would be folly, but when you truly know who you are, you can trust yourself from the soul level. The affirmation is, I am relaxed and let consciousness carry me through life. That's completely fitting, in my opinion, because really letting go of these attachments and finding the key to ending suffering, it's all about letting go of control. That's really what a lot of attachments are, is a bit of control. And when you can let go of it, when you can just surrender to the flow of life and surrender to what your consciousness needs as opposed to what you think you're supposed to be doing, that really is the key to happiness. Because the more and more you can do that, and the closer and closer you can get to that state where your own soul is the only thing that you'd ever need, that is where bliss or heaven or nirvana is. Because it's a realization that everything that we've been afraid of, everything that causes us suffering, it's not inherent. It's all attachments that we had in the mind. And once those attachments or those psychological aspects can be changed or dissolved, it allows us to just be in the exact state that we want to be in, you know? It's the whole idea of changing your internal state to get what you want, because really everything that we want is the way something would make us feel. It's not the thing itself. If you can get yourself to let go to the point where you don't need these external things to feel the way you want to feel, that is when your life will truly begin to change in all of the best ways. Hopefully this helps you in some way. Just begin to recognize some things that maybe you don't need to carry around anymore. I think that's going to do it for today. So hopefully this video resonated with you. And as usual, I wish you a very good day, evening, or night, and stay light.